Candace.
I think we're starting to get some people. I give a couple more people. We could.
All right.
We've got it. Everyone's just joining. We've got a couple more minutes before 2 o'clock. Thanks everyone for joining us. We're just waiting for people to enter and we'll get started.
I'll probably give people a few extra minutes. So grab a coffee, get some water, stretch your legs, as they say on the airlines, and get ready for a fun hour.
I'll turn my cell phone off.
Oh. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining, we're just going to give it a few extra minutes. We'll probably start around 11:03 because we have an action-packed hour for you. So
unless you're on the East Coast, and then it would be 2:03.
That's right. Sorry. or if you're in the middle.
Right? Or in the middle. Yeah.
Or in the middle. Or if you're in London, you're having dinner. Because we are worldwide.
This is true.
Oh, and there's breakfast in Hawaii. That's right. There you go.
Welcome. Please feel free. You can, if you have any questions along the way, while a little bit of housekeeping, you can drop those in the Q&A, or feel free to chat with us via the chat too. We're looking forward to. Oh, so many people. So nice to see so many familiar faces, or so many familiar names, I should say. It's not really faces that we get to see, but.
I have my special cup for today, Candace.
Oh, those are collector's items. If anyone would like to order one, I'm sure that Andrew can figure out a way to get that to you.
Oh no. Everybody wants a hot AF cup. All right, just give it another minute or two and we will get going. Oh. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining, we're just going to give it about another minute and then we're going to dig in. But while you're waiting and you're seeing this beautiful slide, you can check out the 2 charities that this year's trend report is going to benefit. We'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but donations of any amount would be wonderful. And we'll go through the details of how you can do that a little bit later. And we're going to try to leave a little time at the end for questions. But as Candace mentioned, if you have questions along the way, put them in the Q&A. And our wonderful senior strategist and mastermind of a lot of this trend report is monitoring the questions, Lee Steele, and she'll make sure that we see your questions. And Candace, on that note, I think we should get moving.
Let's do it. Okay. Maybe, let's see. Oh. Go.
Okay, hi everybody. It's Andrew Freeman and Candace McDonald, the Sonny and Cher of the restaurant and hotel industry. And we are here today to yet again, through another crazy year, present our trends for 2022. And this year, after much debate, we landed on the Looking Glass. And through the Looking Glass, which is, for those of you who love Alice in Wonderland, you'll see a lot of references throughout our presentation, because we are truly finding our way in a new era of hospitality. This report is co-presented by af&co, which just celebrated our 16th anniversary this week, and Carbonate, our wonderful partner agency that is doing amazing work, including this presentation. So we're very, very proud of it. And I'll tell you a little bit about both of our companies, and then we'll get into how the theme, came to be and what you've got ahead of you. So af&co, we put butts in seats and heads in beds. And we've been, we're San Francisco based. As I said, it's our 16th anniversary. I can go on and on about us, but I can just tell you that we love what we do. We have a wonderful team of strategists and account managers and creatives that really take care of our clients in the hotel and restaurant industry, as well as now food products, wine, etc. We're just known for our fresh approach and our bold results. On the Carbonate side, I'm very proud of this because Candace and I have worked together now 12 years. I say Candace is my longest term relationship, and I guess at this point in my life will be my longest term relationship. So I'm very excited that a few years back, we decided to break out of a division of af&co to create Carbonate, which has gone on to create an amazing array of clients and talent as well on the Carbonate side. And they're creative strategists and passionate storytellers. And we're working with wonderful companies in all areas of food, hospitality, food tech. We're really on top of our game right now, and we're feeling really good about it. So we came together to put this trend report together, and this is some of the wonderful team that worked on the report with us, especially Lee Steele, Rachel Walensky, and Jonna Quinn, who have really helped us form the whole report. And then Candace and I look pretty today and present the trends to you. And we're very excited that we have this report for you today. We also have a great team back at both agencies that have also contributed and worked very hard to get us here to today. Because Candace, I think, told me today that it was at 547 hours, Candace, of time.
So
am I making that up?
Close to that.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea of how much we put into this report to get here today.
Yeah. Okay,
so a few housekeeping notes before we jump in. We have a lot to cover, so we're not going to go through every example that you see on every page. We have great examples of just about every trend to validate the trends. We are being recorded, which means that you will get a recording at the end of the presentation. You'll receive an email in the next day or two with a link to the full trend report. And feel free to share this report. Now that it's public, you can share it out. You can Instagram about us. You can put it on Facebook. You can tweet. You can do whatever you want to do with it, because we just want to get the word out to a lot of people about our trends. Okay, that's a little bit about just some homework along the way, and you'll see our hashtags at the beginning as you saw them and at the end, and our handles. Okay, so let's start with this Alice in Wonder quote. It's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. If I could say, would everybody raise their hands to see if we agree with that? I'm sure there would be a unanimous hand raise, because it's been 20 months, everybody, 20 months since the pandemic hit, and a lot of other things in our world, the insurrection, Black Lives Matters, our lives have been completely changed. And, we've gone through, it's just, this year's report really reflects the topsy-turvy nature of the last 2 years, with a groundbreaking shift beneath our feet. Now, what we're trying to do is sort of chart a novel path forward in this strange new world. And I think for all of you, I'd like to say, give yourselves a round of applause, because if you're here today, you've made it through. So now we're going to ask you to join us to go down the rabbit hole, exploring food, beverage, hotel sustainability, marketing, and design trends that will shape the year to come. Are you ready? Yes, I'm going to take that as a ready. I'm going to turn it over to Candace to get us started with a look back at 2021.
Yeah, well, thank you, Andrew. We always start with a little bit of a look back, partially because it's really hard to look forward until you take a glimpse at where you've been and what was working. But also, this is a little bit of a patting ourselves on the back, because these are the couple of trends that we had cited in last year's report that we have really taken off. So we pat ourselves on the back a little bit in this section, but also we want you to know if you don't see these things in this year's report, it's because we saw them coming. So to start, a couple of really big hits the past year. Quesabiria. This is something that is really from east to west, north to south, we're seeing quesadilla show up in a lot of places thanks to Instagram and thanks to just the nature of oozy, cheesy goodness that it is. So if you haven't tried that yet, check it out. Our cuisine of the year was last year was Chinese American, which continues to take off. We felt like the deliverable nature of it, combined with just the fact that it is this kind of American comfort food. And then there's a number of different next generation Chinese Americans who are taking a look at this and wanting to do things a little bit different or scale in different ways. If you haven't seen Lazy Susan, it's in San Francisco. That's a great one to check out. The third one is the meat industry gets cultured. So we've been talking for a couple of years about lab grown and cell cultured meats. And really we see this continuing to take off. Singapore was actually the first to approve a cell grown chicken. And it's still pending, still approving in other places. But, we think that, we're seeing things like cruelty free foie gras and others coming to light. So one thing you won't see in the report, we don't cite vegan or vegetarian or plant-based as a trend this year because really it's very cultural and we think it's here and it's part of our world. So now we're looking at kind of what are some of the other ways and what are the products and things that are a result of that. We also saw last year a number of things that were pandemic related that people just tried. I mean, I think everybody on this call probably tried a lot of new things in 2020 and 2021, just because, what do you got to lose, right? So there were a lot of things that, were put out there to see if they would stick. And this year, at the end of 2021, and especially going into 2022, now we're seeing operators taking a step back and saying, okay, this worked, and how can I really market it properly? And how do I really put the operational legs behind it? Fine dining goes casual. This is one of those ideas we saw, as a large number of restaurants that launch sort of side gigs within their own four walls. So not necessarily ghost kitchens, but little sister concepts. This is a Mark and Mike's is pictured here. This is a Jewish deli concept from the team at Fine Dining Restaurant One Market. And, it's going to stick around because it's successful and people like it. So we think these are pretty interesting and we'll continue to go. Bringing the restaurant home. I think everybody tried meal kits and, what was that like? And what we saw is that there's interest in this kind of situations, being able to cook something at home. So, that was something that was took hold in 2021 as well. I Will Survive, micro bakeries and pop-up restaurants. So there's definitely, early in the pandemic, we saw a lot of chefs who were laid off going to Instagram and selling something they were really passionate about. So question now is, how many of these will become permanent fixtures or items in different places or home-based restaurants and those things. So that's a quick look at 2021. We also wanted to call out, a few years ago, we took note of the rising popularity of Filipino food in the US, and now it really seems to be continuing to grow exponentially. So we're excited to see Filipino chefs that are shining light on traditional foods, ingredients, but also looking, reaching into everything from fine dining to French pastry to other things. So a couple of great examples here, but Filipino food we're noting is still rising.
And Candace, at first I was afraid, I was petrified, but we have all survived. So along the way, we'll have a couple of musical interludes. And for everybody who knows, we like to make sure you're awake during this report. So if you know the song, put it in the chat. Okay. Anyway, Curiouser and Curiouser, our trends of the year. Okay, this would be where the drum roll comes in because this is where we're really calling them. And we hope you'll agree. And if you don't, let us know, put it in the chat because we're also interested in what you have to say. Okay, here we go. The hot dish of the year is laksa. And every year we always have a delicious, gotta have, I wouldn't say ooey gooey treat, but in this case, this is one of Singapore's best known signature dishes. You can take a look at that and it's kind of the dish that you'd want. I won't read everything here, but the dish features slurpable noodles, fragrant aromatics, creamy coconut curry, a bit of funky spice paste, and some underlying heat, all topped off with tasty garnishes. So you can see at the Lion Dance Cafe and Dabao in Singapore, this dish is really on the rise. Now, if it's anything like quesadilla, and I'll give Lee Steele full credit for this, she called it early and then it became the rage. So we're hoping the same thing's gonna happen with laksa, but we think it's the dish of the year, the hottest dish of the year. Dessert of the year, shaved ice. especially for our friends in Hawaii that have had this for many years. It's definitely hit the big time, and it's being done in many ways in numerous cultures and a variety of options. You can see the examples here to just give you a sense of how it's being presented. But kagori in Japan is, you can see some examples here. Again, I don't want to go into too much, but it's traditionally finished with sweet toppings such as chopped fruit, condensed milk, fruit syrup, and red beans. But however, some chefs are introducing new ingredients such as caramel and just a variety of wonderful ways. The examples here, I was particularly interested in La Perla because, and Nashville, a little hint for the future, but in the report, but you can see some really great examples here. So get ready to shave some ice and enjoy it. Drinks of the year, my era, everybody. 80s cocktails revival. Isn't that great? We're really looking at, like, normally we'll have one cocktail, and this year we were like, we really can't do it. But put your disco shoes on, get dancing, and drink one of these cocktails because these are back. And I will throw out that you've probably all heard a lot about the espresso martini this year. It's been the drink of 2021. So the reason we didn't call it is the drink of 2022 is because it's here right now and everybody's loving it. But it's definitely set the tone for 2022. And you can see some great cocktails like the Amaretto Sour, Midori. By the way, this is really interesting. We found out that Midori was introduced at the premiere of Saturday Night Fever at Studio 54. That's where Midori decided to premiere itself. I was just, for somebody who was just a disco king, this is such a great trend for me. Tequila Sunrise, the Grasshopper, Long Island iced teas. Remember how effed up we used to get from those, and anything made with blue curacao. So these are the drinks of the year and 80s revival cocktails, and I'm sure if you don't have them on your menus, you're going to have them. Cuisine of the year, Caribbean. We're going to the Caribbean, and I happen to love this trend because when you think of I think people are learning a lot more about what Caribbean cuisine means, and some people say Caribbean, right? So, so that's your choice. But I just want to make sure you know, it's a catch-all phrase that goes from the islands of the West Indies and the Caribbean Sea, as well as the coastal countries like Belize and Guyana. And it encompasses a melange of culinary traditions, including African, Creole, Cajun, absolutely just delicious. And some great examples here are Sobre Mesa here in Oakland, Kokomo, and again, I won't go through these all, but we went coast to coast on this. And it's really introducing a wonderful opportunity for people of color to also show what their traditions and their historical nature of their food. So we're calling it as the cuisine of the year. Cuisine on the rise, Indian, been around for a very long time. We all know that. It's definitely having its day, and it's having its day in a way of modern interpretations or deep-rooted historical regional family recipes coming through in great ways. Again, some wonderful examples here. So it's lesser known regions of India, lesser known recipes of India, but still delicious. Dhamaka in New York is probably getting so much attention right now. And one of the dishes there, for all of you who are really, adventurous, you can try the goat kidney and testicles, red onion and pow. Now, who doesn't want a good testicle dish, everybody? But I'm telling you, we've all had it, and it's quite delicious. And then Aram here and Amber India here in the Bay Area have also introduced, again, recipes from the heart, from traditional countryside, from places where the chefs grew up. And then on the Amber India side, they've really done an exploration of the sweets or the mathai of India, which has just been really taken off. So it's really fun to see a cuisine, an everyday cuisine, getting its due. Food City of the Year. We're going to Nashville, everybody. I would try to do this with a country accent, but it would be really bad. But what I love about Nashville is it was already having its day, everybody. But again, it survived the pandemic. It's got this wonderful music culture. And now it's got an amazing food culture that it had all along the way, but it's getting attention now. It's just a resilient community. What I love is the combination of the culture of Nashville, the food, the music, the people. It's Southern hospitality meets urban sophistication. And you can see these great restaurants there. And I would say that for anybody who hasn't been to Nashville, put it on your list this year, because you can eat and listen to great music and just have a really wonderful time there. We just love Nashville, don't we, Candace?
What's not to love about Nashville?
That's right.
And now look at all these chefs that are there too. There's even more to enjoy and eat. All
okay,
right,
I'm going to turn it over to Candace for food.
For food, if everybody wasn't hungry enough after that, we shouldn't do this at lunchtime because then everybody gets hungry. But without further ado, our food trends of the year. So we will start with empanadas, which we are affectionately dubbing the new hot pockets. Really this is, from Argentina, where they're, flaky pastry wrapping, to Colombia, where it's more of a cornmeal masa that's coating that's fried. There's just a lot of diversity with empanadas, and they're delicious and comforting, and really we're seeing them pop up in a lot of places. So Chao Pescado is an example in San Francisco that is offering 4 flavors of Colombian empanadas. Frazada is a frozen food company, a direct-to-consumer frozen food company from Latin America that is bringing their signature empanadas which are also plant-based to the market as well. So we just see this taking off, and really in a very both as entrees and as appetizers.
Every year we have a good hot pocket. Something always makes it onto the list. Some cultural hot pocket. Okay, back to you.
Comfort never, it always is in style. It's not really, never goes away. So it's just a good thing to enjoy. So Crazy Rich Cuisine, that's a little nod to the movie Crazy Rich Asians. We probably have that movie maybe a little bit for bringing Singapore to the mainstream, at least here in the US. But this tiny country has a really strong heritage of food from, there's an interplay of Chinese and Indian and Malay influences, and it's really because it's a very unique cuisine all on its own. And so we're seeing a lot of restaurants that are featuring the cuisine of Singapore popping up in the US. Killiney Kopitiam is actually Singapore's oldest cafe, and it's opening 5 locations in the Bay Area. The Singapore Food Festival Singapore brought a pop-up event to the US, which I think also sort of sparked this conversation, but there's just a lot of it happening. So we think we'll see more of it. Would you like a side history with that? So this is really interesting. I think one of the things as an industry we've all been wrestling with or understanding is, questions about where our food comes from, and assumptions that maybe many of us grew up with about food have really, been called into question in the past 2 years. And so what we've seen is that a lot of chefs and artisan food producers, particularly of color, have started to dig deep into very specific regional culinary traditions, bringing back ingredients that may have been that ingredients and techniques that may have disappeared or been misappropriated. So things like, Rue 40 that's opening in Oakland, Awamni by the Sous Chef is in Minneapolis, which is really focuses on modern indigenous cuisine, but without ingredients that would have been brought here by colonists. So, without wheat flour and sugar and dairy. So just really an interesting experience to be had. Fish out of water. This is a really interesting one. We're seeing fish getting the steak treatment, where chefs are experimenting with dry aged fish to really enhance and concentrate flavor. It's not a new technique. Japanese chefs have been doing this for centuries, but it's becoming more mainstream here in the US. So we've got the Joint Eatery there in Sherman Oaks, Lucky Robot in Austin, Texas, and the Fantastique in San Francisco. So we're seeing this pop up in more and more places. Table service hits the extremes. So I think we all have talked about kind of what COVID created, this era of mobile order and pay for many restaurants that never experimented with it before. And it's still attractive, as we're looking at sort of the labor issues that many operators are facing. And for guests, they've become accustomed to it and appreciate the ease of ordering. And so we're seeing restaurants experiment with this, full service restaurants that, would have been solely focused on traditional ordering, looking at this. Blue Stem Restaurant Market, which is opening this week, or reopening this week, I should say, has moved to this system, and really looking at, meeting the guests where they are. You can order that second drink so that the server can come over and chat with you a little bit more and isn't worried about keying in that order in the same way. We're also seeing the other, side of this coin is a yearning for a bit of luxury and sort of looking at that level of interaction. And so we're seeing tableside presentations coming back in different ways. And it's sort of, for some of you on this call, you're thinking, well, that's nothing new. A table site's easier, but there is everything old is new again in some respects. And so, this is the Vault Steakhouse here they have a tableside Caesar, but a baked Alaska that's flamed tableside. Michael Mina's new restaurant there has really cool. They have a roaming fish cart and a fish sommelier who displays the restaurant's daily seafood offerings. So again, that level of interaction and using technology to create and facilitate hospitality.
Sounds like a high-low trend in a way, don't you think, Candace? Like, the high-low of no touch, and then for us who we're going back to restaurants and we want to be pampered. We've been cooped up.
Yes, well, it's all in the service of, I think that's what we're seeing is all these technology. It's really in the service of hospitality. So how do you use these things to enable more human connection? A tea party fit for the Mad Hatter. This is one of my favorite trends, and not just because I have wonderful childhood memories of, holiday high tea with my family, but, this is obviously the trend of afternoon tea dates back to the mid 1800s, but it's really getting newfound popularity as hotels and restaurants are seeking ways to reach additional guests and also to use the full day of their restaurant. So it's a relatively easy formula because things are prepared in advance. And it gives room for creativity too. The San Francisco Proper Hotel has a very popular weekend afternoon tea. We give the example here of Elm and New Canaan, Connecticut, which has things like wasabi lobster rolls and truffle croque monsieur and pistachio cannoli on their afternoon tea. And then in New York, there's a Thai this Tiny Love, which is doing savory Thai dumplings and steamed coconut pudding. So again, this is a concept that doesn't have to be reserved for the fancy. It can be just for the snacky, if you will,
or just the holidays. Yep.
Yeah.
I got my pinky up. I got my pinky up, Candace.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. It goes perfectly with the hot AF mug. Taiwanese breakfast. So this is something that we're seeing gaining popularity in major metropolitan regions, especially in areas that have large Taiwanese populations. Instagram has really been a way that some of these have really spread and generated long lines of people who are really craving these kinds of foods. But we're talking about crustless sandwiches and sticky rice rolls, and we have two examples in there, one in Fremont and one in San Jose, California. So we have some quick bites here, just to make sure you leave the report nice and hungry. So we've got Shangjian Bao, our crispy bottom soup dumplings, which is kind of like a cross between a soup dumpling and a pot sticker. Chivito is the national dish of Uruguay. And this, believe it or not, is a sandwich with steak, ham, bacon, melted mozzarella, and a fried or hard-boiled egg. Plus, don't forget the mayo. So this one is not necessarily healthy for you, but that doesn't mean it's not incredibly delicious.
Raise your hand if you have that dish, everybody. I would. Okay.
I totally eat that right now. I'm starving.
Yeah.
The house cured caviar is another one we're seeing. This is Alley and Vine, which selects their own sturgeon and cures their own caviar. And then Pandan, which is like it's like used similar to vanilla extract, but it normally this picture is yellow, but it imparts a bright green color and has a very sweet aromatic flavor. So those are our quick bites. We'll keep an eye on those. And that leads us to the booze, Andrew.
All right, let's have a drink, everybody. We're gonna have a drink. You all have permission to drink while you're watching this trend presentation. Okay, so again, if we look at the last 20 months, a lot of things have changed, which have, I think, changed for the good. And one of the things is that beverage lists have now have a point of view. Following the wave of social justice, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg here throughout the nation in 2020. We recognized the opportunity to shine the spotlight on minority and women-owned beverage companies by curating the lists exclusively from a BIPOC or female-led producers. There was a percentage that I think Lee shared with us that the number of Black-owned or Black winemakers is still, I think, under 10% in the country right now. So we have a long way to go here. But a couple of examples here would be Esme in, which is, you could see Director Tara Barrett puts together a beverage list that features producers of color and women. And then Caribou is opening here in Alameda. It's a wine lounge featuring people of color, women, and locals. And I'm so excited about this trend because, and we'll talk more about our charitable partners later, but it just feels that we're on the right path. And so this is just the beginning. Robots raise and work the bar. So we've heard about, in our report, years back, we had a salad making robot from Chowbotics, and now we have beverage making robots. These are, there's a lot of reasons why robotic bartenders are getting bigger right now, especially for high volume places like Las Vegas. Well, number one, as everybody knows, we're still dealing with an incredible labor shortage. And but these robots, or vending robots, if you will, provide consistency in pours. They can produce up to 10 cocktails in a swoop. You'll expect to see them at large festivals and events, but don't be surprised if a robot pours you a beer at a baseball game in the near future. We think you're going to see more and more of these, and I happen to love the Rotender, just as again from my marketing brain. But you can see a couple of great examples here. And I think, again, this is solving a labor shortage right now, and we'll see how this all pans out. How do you brew? Well, coffee, coffee, coffee. Now in its fourth and fifth wave, coffee culture in America has gone beyond standard dip, dark roast, micro roasteries, espresso drinks, etc. And now we're looking at traditions from around the world, embracing everything, bringing everything into coffee and coffee culture. This tends to go beyond just coffee drinks to caffeinated cocktails, and you'll see some great examples here. But at Pamela in Oakland, they do a Yemeni style coffee. It's high test, if you will. Mm-hmm. And Pin, you can see a great example here of a Vietnamese coffee culture. And then at Mr. Espresso, which is a coffee producer here in Oakland, they've actually partnered with Chef 2 David Phu to create an espresso coffee cocktail with Vietnamese coffee. And it can also be made without alcohol. So some of these drinks are just on the wave. So for all of you, again, part of the trend report is take what you can from this report. So think about what you can do in your coffee category to get more and more people drinking. This bubble won't burst, everybody. You probably all heard of this phenomena that's going across America, and it's bubble tea and tapioca balls, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And I'll say, because I get to sing here, everybody gong cha tonight. This is a popular Taiwanese-based bubble tea brand that's just recently opened its 130th store. Did you hear that? 130th. It's big. And then I'll take it to the other side, which is E&O Kitchen and Bar here in San Francisco, actually created this amazing, bubble tea drink themselves. So it's even making its way into mainstream restaurants and on cocktails and drinks in restaurants. And then, of course, go really mainstream, and you've got Sonic, which has actually created their version of bursting bubbles, and that sort of explode in your mouth. I don't know about that, but it's really getting big, and this bubble is not going to burst, everybody. The smoothie and the koozie, baby. I feel very Austin Powers when I say that, Candace. So this is sort of, it's that these are beers, everybody. They are, they have a thicker consistency, a thicker texture. These are sweet sounding brews, but they're actually based on sours and packed with fruit purees after the first fermentation, creating a thicker smoothie-like slushy consistency. So what Leith really loved about this trend was the great packaging and the great ways they're being produced. But you can see some great examples here of these thicker beers. I encourage you all to give them a try because they're actually really delicious and they're very, very refreshing. So 450 North Brewing in Columbus, 903 Brewers in Dallas, and in Portland, Oregon. So this one's going mainstream. Get your koozies out. Koozie, koozie, koo. Oh my God, I'm getting a little corny. Okay. Global gins, local flavors. Well, it might not have the cachet of the whiskey with its barrel aging, but gin is gaining steam and distillers around the world are producing unique gins based on local flavor profiles. So again, what used to be just, you can have a great gin and tonic, but now you can have it maybe flavored with something that has been infused or built into the gin. So you can see some great examples here. Four Pillars is a Shiraz gin. And this other, anyway, I know we have to keep moving, but I happen to love this gin. Gigi is a Himalayan flavored gin with berries and aromatics and delicious. So I encourage you all to think about what you can do with cocktails using some of these new gins that are making the scene. And then quick sips, just like quick bite. Shingani, which is a Bolivian brandy. It's coming down the pike. You can see great, some Shingani cocktails here. These are all for you to maybe think about for your upcoming lists. THC seltzer, well, THC's been around for a while, but now what's better with a little bubbles and a little buzz, right? So, and a little relaxation that comes from that. So you can see an herbal seltzer here. White Pinot Noirs, this is big. Thinking of climate change and Western wildfires, you may see more of this, but we're seeing white Pinot Noirs hit the scene. And then every year we have a milk, usually a nut milk. And this year we're calling pistachio milk, which actually gives a beautiful color as well as a wonderful flavor. So those are our quick sips. Everybody doing okay? Good, because we're gonna keep moving because we're on track. And I'm gonna turn it over to Candace to talk about hotels.
All right, who's ready to travel? All right, hotels. So a couple trends in hotels, room service outsourced and delivered. So, I mean, what we're seeing is many hotels are struggling to cut costs and looking for new ways to add value to their guest experiences. They're turning to third-party providers to take over food service operations and run virtual brands from their underutilized kitchen space. So, if you think about sort of the way that the hotel kitchen space is used, there's opportunity there for, especially in light of increased uses of delivery. So, a couple examples here of how this is being used. Room service reinvented. So, if you haven't been to the new Resorts World in Las Vegas, I suggest you check it out. There's over 40 F&B venues, and it's really quite incredible. They've partnered with Grubhub to replace room service. So what guests can do is they can order via an app and have delivery from any of the restaurants within the resort, which is pretty interesting. Graduate hotels and C3. C3 is growing and gotten a ton of press for all of their expansion, but they've partnered with the graduate hotels to convert hotel kitchens into multi-brand digital kitchens. So again, looking at partnerships, this is something that we think not just opportunity for the larger players, but opportunities for boutique hotels and opportunities for independent restaurants as well. How can we partner and make more out of what we have? I love this one, retro hotels for the modern age. I think we might have a little bit of Moira Rose to thank for the glamour of the motor lodge, if you will. But it's probably in some respects due to a little bit of nostalgia from the road trips that everybody was taking the past couple of years. But we're seeing individual operators and major hotel brands restoring these mid-century motor lodges and building new ones decked out, really. Calistoga Motor Lodge has been around. They made some new rooms in this elevated retro motor lodge aesthetic. And then the Kimpton Goodland Hotel is another example of this that converted a 1960s property into a Kimpton boutique destination. And so they have a wood paneled station wagon, an Airstream trailer, complete the experience. So again, these are just fun and they kind of nod back to a different time, if you will.
I'm actually really surprised, Candace, that nobody's done a Schitt's Creek hotel or motel.
Yeah.
Somewhere,
We should do that, Andrew.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
That's our idea, everybody. Yeah. Don't give it away. Okay.
I'm sure that we'll be able to get the trademark, no problem. Workcation is the new staycation. So, I think it's not a surprise to anybody about work from home becoming the default. And now we're seeing that many organizations are introducing either full or partial remote work policies. So this has resulted in many people being able to take extended work vacation or extended to blend work with vacation. skipped to the travel tracker report and said that 23% of American remote workers took long trips, 10 days or more by early October. So this is really interesting, if you think about kind of the flexibility that it means that you can add on to your, if I could work from that pool, why wouldn't I, right? And so, we think that especially with hiring being competitive, we think that, companies are going to begin to look at ways to do this. And it's a really great opportunity for hotels as well to look at how can we extend these things and make this, appealing to this slightly freer demographic of workers. Winding down the turn down. This is one that we talked a lot about, kind of, I think what we found is that, driven by COVID-19 safety and then followed by labor shortages, hotels have really shifted away from automatic daily housekeeping and looking at more of an opt-in model. And actually, on our team, this was a little bit of a mixed field about, how we felt about this, but nearly 2/3 of travelers are actually on board with it, looking at citing environmental impact as being one reason. So what we're seeing, a couple of it's really something that's impacting, that's not impacting luxury brands. We're seeing that the luxury brands are still making this a part of their service at a touch point, but Marriott Bonvoy is one that's no longer offering daily room cleaning. It's available upon request. And Hilton is the same thing, announced that that daily housekeeping, except for its luxury brands, will be upon request too. So turn down's winding down.
Yes,
as
and
is the hotel
Candace,
section.
you're right. I think the higher the luxury level of the hotel, the room service will be there, mini bars will be there, rooms turned down will be there. I think it's going to be a personal choice. And then I think as the world bounces back even more, we'll see if this one actually sticks or if it just gets a little more. It winds back up.
Speaking of winding, let's go to design.
Yes, everybody, I'm so excited about this category, and I'll tell you why. A lot of these ideas come right from the Carbonate, well, they all do, come from the Carbonate design team, which is an amazing group of wonderful women that are doing, great work. And I was, just a little plug for Carbonate because they've really grown in the last 2 years despite the pandemic, and so proud of the work they're doing. But these are some trends that came from our in-house experts. So typography, the neo-nouveau. So let's go back to the 90s, everybody, but not the 1990s, the 1890s, right? We're having throwbacks. We're getting sort of saying goodbye to neon colors and abstract patterns and graffiti typography. And we're looking at more a shift towards ornamental embellishments and muted colors and like a richness. Most notably, typographic treatments from boutique to the mainstream seem to be championing this neo-nouveau swing. And you can see some great examples here. Perhaps the freedom in fluidity is a visual metaphor for that we're all happy to embrace. So, I call this the bra burning design trend, right? We're throwing it all away and we're gonna embrace freedom here. You can see
put our corsets back on in the 1890s.
That's right. You can see some great examples here, Park Lane, Gage and Tallner, and Papier. And then keeping along those lines, we're going from Mona Lisa to modern maximalist. And, again, sort of in the same tone, there's a deeper, richer shift towards palettes that were popularized in Renaissance paintings and revived again during the Art Deco era, seeing a fresh execution again. So what you're seeing here is ambers and siennas and ochres. Oh my! There's brass and burl wood. We won't be surprised if you'll see the minimalist design being replaced with some of these a little more ornate, beautiful, rich colors. There's Mona Lisa, just FYI as a reference, but you can see the proper, the red herring at the proper hotel in LA there is just, I think, stunningly beautiful. And then John Anthony in Hong Kong is another example of just seats that we're going to feel comfortable in again and places that are just going to envelop us. Patterns, checkers everywhere. Every year we see one pattern that sort of makes its mark. And this year we saw checkers. And isn't it a beautiful pattern? Look at that bar. If you really look at it now, that's an attempt at somebody said, we're going to take a shot with this. It's an undeniable, influential pattern. And I think it's, you know, it's sort of a throwback to our childhoods, but it's being done in really interesting ways here. And we just really we love this one. And you can see great examples of this here, but I just happen to really like, and that's even a dish, everybody. Do you see the watermelon granita? That's a dish. So we think checkers are showing up not only in design, but in food as well. And the last one here is a return to postmodernism. We love this one. I think the last 20 months have moved us to be more bold and more, take more chances, and just a richness of color that I think maybe we lost a little bit prior to that. Comfort level, I think, and just feeling really good in things. So you can see here, strong contrast, funky patterns, postmodern design celebrating individualism and expressionism. It's freedom, everybody, freedom in design. Naturally, the styles are growing, and you can see some great examples here. I'm very proud of Pisone, which is one of our designs, which you can see again, we really, it's a little bit of a postmodern look, but still really fun and really rich and lovely. So those are our design trends for the year, and we're on track to go into sustainability.
All right, so sustainability. So this section of the report looks at innovations with regard to sustainability. This first one is, I think, incredible. It's don't recycle that, eat it. And so, you know, we're seeing, you know, with the EU ban on single-use plastics taking effect this year, and, you know, I think a growing global concern about, you know, what our impact is, and especially our industry's impact, companies are creating not just compostable solutions, but edible ones. So BioBite, these are vegan edible coffee cups, and then Eat the Spoon. These are from Incredible Eats. It's edible cutlery made of wheat, oat, corn, and chickpea, and they can be in various sweet and savory flavors. So there you go, Eat the Spoon. Off the farm and into the lab. This is an interesting one. So, you know, it should come as no surprise given the explosion of meat alternatives and cell cultured meats. But, you know, now we're seeing scientists replicating some favorite foods using reverse engineering. So, you know, what they're doing is I'm going to read this because it's recombining baseline molecules from other agricultural systems, and they're replicating a similar product. So, you know, looking at ingredients that are more readily available, that, you know, not using things where there's concern about child labor or fair trade, right? And they're also looking at things like creating an allergen-free peanut butter that looks and tastes like peanut butter, but doesn't have the actual peanuts. So again, it's sort of, you know, an extension of this concept of, you know, making our favorite things with other things. And we'll be interested to see where this heads. The new container farming. So this is, you know, as many urban downtown areas, you know, have some low capacity. We're seeing some ecologically minded companies that are transforming that underused space into micro farms using shipping containers. So these are, you know, enclosed climate controlled rooms that are basically, you know, supercharging a growing environment is what we have here. So this is the two examples. Square Roots in Michigan is, you know, putting their containers of these in parking lots, and then Freight Farms is vertical hydroponic farming, and again built entirely inside a shipping container. So very interesting. All right, we're right on track, Andrew.
Home with a little time for questions, which is great. With some business and marketing trends. And I want to make sure that I'm ready for this because I also want to make sure we have some time for questions. So let's do it. A house divided cannot stand. So obviously the challenges of the year, and I'm gonna say this was going on before the pandemic. You know, there's been, you know, there's been a deep look at how do we manage the front of the house and the back of the house, and the, you know, labor and, you know, all these concerns. And now we have this labor shortage as well. So we're seeing a lot of restaurants adopt more flexible models, eschewing traditional division between the front and the back of the house, cross-training staff to take on multiple roles. This new service model fosters equity and compensation, eliminates hierarchy, and helps protect against being short-staffed. You know, a really important trend here. I think more and more people are moving towards this, or trying to figure out what's right for you. I thought I'd take a moment to read this quote because Jesse Cool from Fleet Street Cafe says, "We have stopped using what we believe are divisive descriptions of the restaurant workforce, BOH and FOH. We have replaced it with the heart of the house, bringing inclusivity and understanding that we're all working together. I think that really says that our friends at Cameron Mitchell have been doing this as well. They've always referred to it as the heart of the house. And I just feel that it's an opportunity for everybody, which is going to lead us into the next trend, to really paint pictures for why everybody loves our industry so much and why careers in our industry should be as great as careers in every other industry. So you can fast forward and I'll talk about the next trend. So employee branding becomes essential, right? Because, you know, in the past, there was an abundance of people that were available. There was, you know, there just was, we weren't competing as much as we are now for great talent. So I think if you're not doing this already, you really need to think about how you're branding yourself and how you're attracting great employees. According to this culinary agent survey, 33% of hospitality workers are looking for career growth opportunities in a job description, and that 30% want more transparency in their job details. In the past, I think we can all agree, we didn't worry about it that much. So the Great Resignation, as we've heard about, is upon us. And so you're looking for, you know, to promote an environment of inclusivity, empathy, opportunity. And the way to do that is to first build it and make sure you're authentic, but then really promote it. And so you can see some great examples here. This is a really fun campaign that Gott's Roadside did. They actually offered a $250 gift certificate for every person you refer who joins the team. That wasn't just for their employees, that went out publicly. And they got a great response. And I believe they've hired over 20 employees, you know, since that campaign ran. So you can see some great examples here. The Alinea Group does a really good job of promoting how they are obtaining employees as well. And then we'll take it to tourism. So our friends at Google have created Travel Insights, which is really helping. It's really a behind the scenes tool that's helping hotels and DMOs figure out how to mine great data, including information on real-time search inquiries, where they're coming from. So you can be a lot more targeted in your marketing, and you can look for really cool ways of, or not cool ways, but of more measured ways of campaign effectiveness. And then Google's taken it one step further. This is more consumer facing and meeting planner facing to look at, they partnered up with Travelist to a nonprofit organization that is actually looking at sustainability practices at properties now. And many companies, as you know, have to abide by certain sustainability practices to even book meetings or events. And a lot of us really care about this now, where we never probably didn't care about it as much. So we're wondering if Google is going to become the new TripAdvisor because of how they're digging into the industry so much. And then loyalty programs, old and new. You know, so this is such an interesting stat. Our ages range in vast on the af&co and Carbonate teams. But you could see here that nearly 60% of consumers who already use at least one loyalty program said they'd spend more on food orders in other restaurants if they also had loyalty programs in place. Conversely, Gen Z is less likely to sign up for traditional loyalty programs. So how do you deal with that? Well, if you're upscale, you look at creating house accounts, for instance, as a way to build loyalty that's not just traditional loyalty programs. So this company called In Kind is working with very upscale restaurants to create house accounts. And there are perks that come with being a member of the house account program, but they're not, you know, just the traditional points programs. And then you look at a great company like Snack Pass, which is definitely, you know, more for our, you know, the Gen Z and college students. And they've built the loyalty into their program where you can, you know, order food, and with that you get, you know, you can gift friends, you can redeem them for other, you can redeem it for more food and beverage, but it's not set up as a loyalty program. It's built into their great customer interface. So we just think if you're not doing a loyalty program, you should, but if you're doing a boring old loyalty program, it's time to rethink it. And then we're going to wrap up here. But this is my favorite trend in the whole report, everybody, because I get to go, who let the dogs in? Who? Okay. And this is all about our beloved furry friends, and they're getting their day. And it goes from the Angler, which, you know, has partnered up. It's a Michelin-starred restaurant, as you know. It's partnered up with a dog food brand, and they've done a 2-item menu for the dogs on their patios. Think about that, everybody. With all the new shared spaces and patios, there's a real opportunity. And then you can see Hilton also has a program, and this is a client of ours, River Terrace Inn, but they've launched a Yappy Hour series, and we feature it around the holidays. And we just finished our Halloween, which was an amazing success. And you know what's really cool about this? We're partnering with a charitable cause, and we're bringing people out and who, you know, like avid dog people like me, who now want to bring their dogs to fun events, and we still get to have cocktails and be with our friends, and it's just a great trend. And then I think this is one of our last, let's talk TikTok, everybody. So everybody's been asking me about TikTok, and I'll say, number one, it's an investment. It's an investment in time, resources, great marketing. You have to really make sure it hits your audience, you know, because as much fun as it is your audience meant for TikTok, is your brand meant for TikTok. But I do think, you know, it's definitely rising and it's coming up. You can see here great examples of Chipotle and Hotwire. But I will say that some people, like some upscale restaurant brands that might cater to an older audience, you know, TikTok may not be the right place for you. But so we're just saying it's time to take a look at it as you're planning your next year's marketing plan. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it right, and you got to invest in it. And that brings us to the famous word cloud of the year. And you can see here, we love this slide, but it's sort of a summation of our whole trend report. And without going into too much detail, you can see remote, the Great Resignation, hybrid was a big word that we saw a lot, self-care, YOLO, FOMO, disco, remote. So you can just see it's quite a year of words that probably we wouldn't even thought of pre all this COVID stuff.
I don't think anyone knew what the metaverse was until a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just wrap up really quick to let you know we have another of these webinars next Thursday, again at 11 and 2 p.m. If you want to join us again, great. If you want to tell your friends, join us. As I said, we're going to be sending out an email with all the details of the trend report. And now I think on that note, I just want to end on behalf Candace and myself and our organizations. We want to say we know you've been through it, and we believe that we are indeed finally coming out of it. And we do want you to look through the looking glass and grab the rings, grab on, but take advantage of the opportunities that are going to present themselves. I'm going to turn it over to Candace to tell you about our charitable partners.
Yeah, so, you know, I think as Andrew said, it's impossible to be optimistic and look to the future without really looking at the toll that this has taken on our industry for the past couple of years. And one of the things that we feel very passionate about is that it's critical that our industry and businesses continue to attract and retain top talent to succeed. It's really not about who's going to work in the kitchen today. It's really about who's going to lead our industry tomorrow. And, you know, there's a couple of stats. The National Restaurant Association said 8 in 10 restaurant owners started their industry careers in entry-level positions, and 9 out of 10 restaurant managers started an entry-level position. So there's a ton of opportunity that this industry provides, and we need to be cultivating the next generation of leaders that are really going to bring innovation and creativity and compassion and all of the things that we need to further the industry. So for this year's trend report, we are supporting 2 charity partners, the James Beard Women's Leadership Programs and the Lee Initiative's Women Culinary and Spirits Program. And so we will be matching your donations up to $5,000 for each charity. So we'd love to be able to present these charities with, you know, in total $20,000. And we'll also be donating any speakers fees from future presentations of this report. You know, Andrew and I do take this show on the road.
We are available for bar mitzvahs, weddings, corporate meetings, anywhere you want us, we will be there, especially now that we have our charitable element.
Yeah, so that's so we do hope you will support these two organizations. You can do it through either of our websites. You'll find the links. There's a direct link for the James Beard Foundation that will track for the match. And then if you would like to donate to the Lee Initiative, there's a drop down that you can select and designate your so donations of any amount are very appreciative. And with that, I think that concludes our report today.
Yeah, we have one more slide.
Except we have some questions. Let's see, do we have some questions?
Can you advance the slide too, Candace? I think there's the slide with just there's our handles and, you know, our fun graphic. I've got to again celebrate the graphics of this wonderful presentation. Okay.
So we do have a question. Let's see, I'm looking here. So would you say that the comeback to comfortable basic F&B trends due to COVID is shifting into more enhanced basics or slowly return to prior COVID trends? So the question is really, you know, where's comfort going to land for us? And is it, is this coming back to comfort due to COVID, or are we going to be seeing kind of a more enhanced attitude towards the comfort trend?
Yeah, I'll say again, I think comfort is now sort of cultural. I think it's like another category that's become cultural. I think there's always going to be great comfort food restaurants and great comfort. When I talked about comfort in the dining rooms, I think it's, I think, you know, minimalism had its moment, and now I think more luxe, rich. When I said comfortable, I think it was just more plush, gorgeous, delicious environments versus minimalist. But I think comfort food will always be a category for restaurants. Just like vegan
changes what it is.
And vegetarian,
Yeah.
like, you know, yeah, right. You know, they've become cultural.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is just about noon.
Look at that, it's noon.
And it's 3 o'clock on the East Coast where I am. So
well, so if anybody has any other questions, feel free to shoot them in an email to us, or, you know, answer. We'd like to end on time. Just want to say another huge thanks to the teams at Carbonate and af&co for this amazing report. And stay healthy, get your boosters, stay vaccinated, and we hope we'll see you all in the coming year. We'd love to work with all of you. Have a great day, everybody.
We will email out the report and the recording, and it will be available the next day or two on our websites.
Thanks, Candace. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay. Bye. Okay, bye-bye.